Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you are watching Save Today with Heather J. I am somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. In an effort to change that, I have decided to create this channel and invite you along on this journey with me. I find that if it's not just me alone in my head, I have a tendency to stick to it a little bit more when I'm sharing and communicating and have a friend along with me. When I tend to get bogged down and frustrated and very discouraged, which happens a lot for me with budgeting, because I just don't have the extra. It's hard to stick to it. It's very easy to quit and give up and just throw your hands up and be, to heck with this, I can't do this. The ostrich in the sand is very much a behavior where I'm just going to put my head down and hide and wait until it's all over and things are a little bit more comfortable. I can't keep doing that. So I've created this channel as a way to hold myself accountable. The constant checking in to post videos requires me to constantly check in with myself. And so that's what we're doing today, is we're doing a check-in, we're making a plan, and we're gonna just see how far we can go by keeping our head out of the sand and placing one foot in front of the other and just doing what we can to move forward. And sometimes moving forward just means standing still and not sliding backwards. And so that is the challenge and the struggle and where I am at and where I'm sure thousands of other people are at. So I invite you on this journey with me. Let's keep each other company. Let's cheer each other on. Let's move forward. Today's video is my July paycheck number 2 setup. We're going to take the estimate of my income, what I am expecting to need to go out in fixed expenses, and what I have left over for flexible spending, and how I think I'm going to get through on this next paycheck for these next 2 weeks. So for me, paycheck number 2 in July is going to be the 14th through the 27th. I estimate my income. Again, I am an hourly, not salaried employee. I get paid $20.85 an hour, and I am a full-time employee. So full-time for my company is anywhere from 32 to 40 hours, and I currently am being scheduled closer to the 40-hour mark than to the 32-hour mark. So I do my estimates based on 38-hour work week. So 38 hours times 2 weeks times $20.85. I'm currently taking 25% out for taxes and insurance. I'm definitely in a spot right now where I'm having to be watching what my insurance and taxes are doing. I may have to jump that up to 30% or maybe 28%. I did just get a pay increase, which gives me a tax increase. And I did finally adjust my address within my company's HR, whatever. And in doing so, I had been on Kaiser Insurance, and Kaiser Insurance is not an option in the state I'm in. And so then you're left with, I don't know what it is, United Healthcare or Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever it is, it's not Kaiser, it costs more money. So my insurance went up by, I believe, $30 a paycheck. And then my tax percent also went up because my income went up. So I had been estimating 25% when it was like 22.7 or 23 point, whatever, it was less than 25%. And at the last 2 checks have really pushed just at or above that 25% line. So I'm going to have to keep my eye on that and see what that settles down into. And I may have to adjust my insurance. But for right now, 38 hours, $20.85, 2 weeks, 25%. What that gives me is $1,188.45. I may at some point get to the point where I am not going over the cents and just dropping that down to $11.88. because it's easier to say a million times in one video. However, I'm at the point where every single penny matters right now, and I need all of the nickels and dimes. I need all of those pennies that impacts what I have and don't have. I do have this line for other. I don't have the expectation to consistently have another. I don't at this time have a second job. I have in periods past. I don't get child support. My children are far too old for that. I don't have any investments that I might be getting quarterly, annual, regular expected payments on. It'd be nice to get there, but that someday is far, far in the future. I can't even imagine what that someday could possibly look like. So for my income, $1,188.45 is what I am estimating is going to come in. Up to this point, I have been slightly underestimating what my income is, and I'm kind of banking on that itty bitty buffer. It tends to be just under $100, again, prior to the raise and the insurance change. So we'll see how that goes. I definitely count on having that in there. It's significantly easier to have just a tiny bit extra money than it is to have just a tiny bit less money. And so I always want to make sure I'm slightly underestimating, if at all possible, to plan for that. The next thing I'm going to get into is my fixed expenses. My fixed expenses are the bills, things I have to pay whether I like it or not. These are just required parts of existing in the world now. So I have, I don't get to say I'm only willing to pay X amount per kilowatt hours. The utility company sets that. When they raise the rates, I have no say in that. The only thing I can control is perhaps how much I'm using, but even that, your control is super duper limited. I can't be like, sorry, I can't pay that, and just not run my refrigerator, right? That's just not an option. So for this pay period, my expenses are, I have a credit card payment that's $50. That comes out on the 15th of the month for every month. This is my first payment towards this credit card. I found out last month that this credit card had not been paid off, as I had been under the impression it was paid off. So I have to reset up a payment plan. And so this first payment is $50 going forward. It's going to be $200 a month on the 15th of the month, going through to February or March, and then that one will be done. Then I have a subscription that's $10.82. That will be coming out during this pay period. I have a U-Haul payment for $97.99. Those of you who've been here already know, but for anybody that's new, I recently moved to where I'm at from out of state. I move a lot. This time when I moved, I had the option of 3 different places I might be ending up, and I wasn't sure at the time I was packing up and putting in my 30 days notice for sure which direction I was going to be going in. And because of that, I chose to put all of my things in U-Haul boxes and store them until I knew for sure where I was ending up. And I separated that into 3 boxes because I knew for sure one was going one way, and the other 2 had the potential of joining the third one or going into one of 2 separate spots based on whose items those were and where those people were going. So that is what I did. 3 separate boxes. So the first one is due on the 16th or the 17th of the month, and the second one is due on the 28th of the month that has the 2. For this pay period, I have the $97.99. Those other 2 come out at the end of the month, which actually ends up being in my August paycheck number 1 pay period because of how the pay dates lie. So $97.99 for that. Then I have my utilities. Again, my utilities, because I'm new to the state, I had not been a previous customer to this utility provider, and so they want a deposit. They wanted me to pay a $350 deposit. As you can see, my budget is far too tight at this time for that, and so the utilities get billed to the landlord. The landlord sends me the bill, and then I pay that. I pay a $20 service fee for the inconvenience to them, and I pay $1.75 to do the money order to get that to them. This time, so what I had always been kind of backpedaling my utility payment, so I would receive the bill, then I would fit it in the next budget, which was always wherever it fell after the rent pay period. Generally, by the time I had come around to paying that bill, then the next bill would show up and I would figure out where that would go in after. And so I was always just a bit behind. And this pay period, this month, I decided to try and attempt to pay the one I know is coming and pay a second one, or estimate in a second one, to kind of catch up to that, so I'm not so far behind, so it's less inconvenient to the landlord. And so that is what I have done here. I have this 30612. The utility bill I had was $131.31 plus the $20 service fee plus that $1.75, and I just doubled that to come up with this 30612. We'll see once I am able to get everything paid if that is what ends up happening. I expect this to change some. I'm either going to pay just the 130, just the one that I had plus that utilities, or I will pay the full amount or part of the full amount based on what I end up receiving for the billing that is going to come up, or what, I don't know. This 30612 is one that's going to that's going to fluctuate in one way or another, I assume, by the time I get around to doing my check-in at the end of this pay period. And then my phone bill is $425.72. Now, I did not pay my bill in June because of things that were going on in June regarding car repair and surgery prepayment and dealing with trying to get my U-Haul. So I made payment arrangements to pay my June's bill in July. So this $425.72 is June and July's bill. I've already paid $47.30 towards my first payment of my June payment setup. And so this $425 has the 189, what is it? 189.21. That is June's payment. That one for sure has to be paid. It also has my $236.51. That is my July payment, which hopefully will be paid with this, but has the potential that I may end up having to bump that and make arrangements to pay that in August. Again, that's going to be based on, we're still dealing with the surgery prepayment. We're still trying to get the U-Haul boxes here. And depending on how much those things cost, then if I have to make sacrifices, those sacrifices are going to come at the cost of my utility bill and at the cost of my phone bill. So that's where I'm at. I am estimated paying, I'm setting my estimate up as if everything is getting paid completely in full. I am not setting this estimate up with the absolute that these things are going to be cut. I just have to be realistic with myself and with you that it's possible things might have to be cut. And if that happens, where are those areas that are going to happen? This scenario, this thought process, this robbing Peter to pay Paul, this is the cycle I'm trying to get out of. And I have to slowly work my way through it. I don't have buckets of money to just pull cash from. And there are periods of time where things have to be sacrificed. Because I'm paycheck to paycheck, I don't have a buffer to deal with the things that life is throwing at me. Could I wait and get my U-Haul at a later date? Absolutely, I could. I have waited a very long time already. And the more I wait, the less money I have, because that's $300 a month going out, dealing with paying for storage units for my U-Haul. And if I don't have the money now, I'm not likely to have any more money later just because it's not now. Anyway, blah, frustration. I don't like having to plan to not pay. I don't like that. That's what we're trying to avoid. That's what we're trying to get out of. But this is the reality of where I'm at, and I have to have kind of a plan B, an escape route, if you will, just in case. So for my fixed expenses, I'm estimated to pay $890.65. And I want to stop right here for a second. We have talked a couple of times about how my rent takes such a large portion out of paycheck number one, and it has been suggested that I cut my rent and I find a way to pay half on one paycheck and save the other half, so that I'm only taking half of my rent out of each paycheck. But I want to stop right here and kind of go back to paycheck number one and see all of my fixed expenses, all of my bills fall. I try to get them to fall in the second period. And we're looking at $890.65 here. But if we go back, that's only a $10 difference from what I had to pay my first pay period. So it really doesn't make sense to try and pay only half of my rent on the first check, because then I end up having to carry some of these over into the rent pay period, and that just doesn't make sense to me. If my rent was, $900 and my bills were only $400, that might make more sense when there's that much of a offset, but it's just not there right now. So I think that that's not going to make sense for me to try and split my rent into two payments where I save that from one paycheck to the next, at least at this time. It just doesn't, it's not something that makes financial sense for me. All right, moving on. The next thing I go over is my flexible spending. And my flexible spending is things I have a little bit of more control over. I can choose where I go. I can choose how much I'm getting, or not get anything at all. These are my groceries, my dining out, my transportation, my art, and miscellaneous. So those things I have a little bit more control over. I'm the one who's choosing what goes out when, and I get to say, not this time. So for my groceries, I have estimated $110 a week for a total of $220 this pay period. I have nothing in the budget to estimate for dining out. My transportation, I have estimated 2 fill-ups basically once a week, plus any buses getting to work. On good days, Monday through Friday, if I happen to be scheduled and the weather is nice, I get to take the bus to work. It costs me $1 each way. And because we're in a situation right now where we are sharing one vehicle, that is probably going to change sometime in the next month or two. We did get some car repairs done that needed to be done, and we just have to take care of some other parts of that after the fact. So that is, the transportation situation will change. That does have kind of an end date when that might be happening, but that's where we're at right now. And then in my art category, I have nothing set aside, estimated in that budget, as well as in the miscellaneous category. Things are just too tight right now for me to plan any kind of expenses. Does that mean nothing's ever going to happen? No, it's probably really realistic to think that I may choose to, something may come up where dining out might happen. Art might happen. Miscellaneous holds, a lot of things that are unexpected, and those unexpected things are still likely to happen. The whole point of being unexpected is you can't plan for it. So will I have things that fall in this zero budgets? Probably, let's be honest. But I just don't have it in there to plan for it. Anything I spend here is going to sacrifice somewhere else, whether that's my groceries, whether I'm lucky enough to not spend the full amount for transportation, whether my utilities or phone takes a hit. I honestly can't see these taking a hit just so that I can go get a cheeseburger somewhere. But those are the areas that have, if I do anything in those three categories, something else will be sacrificed. So now let's kind of go over the ending balance. Again, I have $1188.45 as my wage estimate. My fixed expenses are $890.65, and my flexible spending is estimated at an even $300. That means I finish out this pay period being $2.20 over budget. So clearly right away something has to give. And I did say I do tend to underestimate here. I expect at this point that this is going to be a little bit over. I did have 1 week where I get an extra 8 hours. I had requested and been approved for time off for this pre-surgery visit, and ended up getting scheduled on that date. And so rather than canceling it, we switched me to a different day and kept that 8 hours of PTO. So unless HR cancels that PTO based on hours worked, I am expecting that I might get an extra 8 hours on my check, and I believe that pay period falls, or that date falls within this pay period. So hopefully that will be a little bit over. And then, so I'm assuming this $2.20 really isn't going to be completely over. But in all honesty, I could get through this and be, you know, $100 in the red. Actually, I can't. I don't have a way to be $100 in the red. I don't have a $100 buffer in my account for that. So that is where I am at when I set up my July paycheck number 2. Things are, I have to make some adjustments in here, or I have to be open to making adjustments in here. I don't like it. I know some of you listening here don't like it. I know somebody somewhere is very upset that I'm even considering the possibility of adjusting these, and I'm sorry. That's just the life I'm in, and you can judge me or not. It doesn't change things. So for those of you who've been here for any length of time, you know what's coming next. For those of you who are new, because I find budgeting so frustrating and negative and discouraging, I needed to find a way to bring some sort of joy, something to look forward to, something positive to tie into the negative, to just kind of give myself something to look forward to. And so I have chosen to include my craft, my art within my video, within my budgeting videos, but I will always put that at the back end. For those of you who aren't interested in it, you're not forced to listen to it. So I go over a craft at the end. I have chosen to have one consistent thing for each month, and then change that next month and change that next month. So far, this is my 3rd month. I'm in my 3rd month. So in May and June, I was able to complete the project that I had brought back, and I would not honestly have done that without having this video to share, without needing to make progress for each video. So thanks for that, because you're helping me with my budget and with my crafting. In July, I have chosen to do a Christmas in July project, and so I'm working on this stocking here. And I just kind of today wanted to go over, I do have some progress to show, but I wanted to kind of go through some of my thought process, just because this is a Christmas stocking that my son requested, based loosely on The Nightmare Before Christmas and Jack Skellington. And so my last couple of videos, I've talked about the skeletal frame and the pinstripe suit I've been making for Jack Skellington. It was always in my mind that in this big black area, I would make a Zero the dog. Zero is that ghosty dog that floats around and follows him everywhere. And I had a very definite image in my mind of what that would look like, without really knowing how I was going to create that. And I don't know why I can't just go buy a pre-manufactured thing and stick it on there, but I have to attempt it on my own. I've obviously never done anything like that, so the whole time I'm trying to process through how I can make this happen. I want it to be a very flowy, kind of loose, floaty thing, but also very stiff and hold its shape. And how am I going to get that kind of see-through, opaque, ghosty look? So I had a set of sheer curtains that I thought would really fit that bill very well. And then I got this Crafter's Pick fabric stiffener. I don't know if you can really see that or if the glare is on there. And my thought was that I could put this on the fabric and kind of poke some chopsticks or some pins into like styrofoam and hold that like loose bottom ridge up so that it did that ruffly effect. Then I ended up coming across some of this netting, and I thought, ooh, that'd be great around the outside. That kind of adds to the ethereal effect of a ghosty. But somehow that curtain didn't get packed with the rest of this stuff. So now as I was going through, because of course, you know, this is 2014, this is years and years, and most of my stuff is packed again in U-Haul boxes in another state. I brought very limited projects with me when I was just filling my car with the things I was going to need until I got the rest of my stuff. And that's how important this is to me. I had to make sure I had some of my craft stuff with me because I would lose my mind if I had nothing. Anyway, I don't have that curtain. I don't know if that curtain is in my stuff packed somewhere or if I eventually got rid of it because it's been so long. But whatever, it's not with the rest of my stuff for this project. Also, I had a blue flannel that I had picked to be the back side of this. That's not here either. So I'm not sure what happened that those two pieces are not with everything else that I have pulled aside for the project, because I'm somebody who tends to pull everything in and keep it all with the project until the project is complete, even if it's 9 years later. And I'm talking even my thread stays here with this. I'm not going back and forth finding all of those bits. So I have thread in project bags that go with the project that aren't in my supplies to be used with anything else. All of these pieces of fabric I have are still with this project bag. They're not in my main stash, if you will, because I might need them for this project and I can't use them for anything. I can't use them for something else and then not have them here when I need them, blah, blah, blah. In any case, I don't have the fabric I thought I was going to use. So now, do I try and make that zero dog? Or do I use the buttons that I already have? I bought those buttons for the Jack head. I knew I was never going to make Jack's face. One of the button kits has a little zero dog and has a Sally. Do I just put that on there? In my last video, I had almost convinced myself that that's what I was going to do, but I didn't want to just give up without ever having tried. So what can I do now? What can I do now? I don't know if you remember this little bit of blue satin that I had left over from my June project, but I thought, well, if I got some of this white stuff, I mean, this is kind of shimmery, shiny, ghosty stuff. If I got this in white, maybe I could do my zero dog. And so I got on the Joann's website. I found how much it was going to be. I found a 40% off coupon. I thought, well, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go see. But while I was on the website, they had something called ruffled ribbon. And I thought, and it already had kind of this effect here, you know, where it was kind of pulled and it was ruffled. Well, I'll look at that while I'm there. And so I went and I found the ribbon. Also, while I'm there, I better look and see about some flannel for the backing for this, because I'm going to have to finish that. So I went and I looked, spent a long time looking at things. And I looked at all of the different colors of flannel. And I lined them all up along this edge, and I lined them all up along this edge. You know, I have to get the right color. I did end up getting this green. I think this is a particularly ugly green. I definitely did not want to like this green. But when I put this next to all these colors, and of course it's only going to show on this edge, right? It's just going to show on the edge. But this was the one that looked the best with this stocking. And I tried oranges, I tried reds, I tried blues, I tried all different shades of green. And this, I don't know what this is called, Kelly green, I don't know. This green, I did not like this on the both. I still don't like this just sitting in a folded up pile. But it's the thing that looks the best with this stocking. But I also got this ruffled ribbon. This ruffled ribbon has exactly the shape I need to create this zero dog. And so I just got 1/3 of a yard of this ribbon, and as you can see, I cut some off and I've been working with it, and I got 1/2 a yard of this flannel, and I used a coupon, and I spent a little tiny bit of money. I think more than $5, but less than 10. I don't know what it was. We'll find out when I go my spending check-in. So did I just say that there's probably going to be something in one of those categories and it's going to sacrifice somewhere else? Yeah, I did. And so that'll sacrifice something else. But here's the thing. I worked on this and worked on this and worked on this. And how perfect is this little zero dog? I am so happy with this little tail and the way these little ruffles are. And I'll get a little bead on here for his eyeball, and I'll get a little bead on here for his nose because he had that like glow up Rudolph nose thing happening. And I'll be able to get his little ears stitched down so that they have that kind of floating in the wind effect that they had. And look at how perfectly that fits there in this toe of this black spot. This turned out perfect, and I am so, so excited, and I absolutely am not going to use the buttons. This, I could not be happier with this. And I'm glad I went and I did, I went and I got that. And I'm glad in the end that somehow I misplaced that curtain and ended up having to go. This is definitely significantly stiffer fabric than I thought I was going to get, but it works perfectly. And again, I'll be able to get that little ear. You can't really see that with my big fat fingers in the way. Can you even see that anyway? Was it off the edge of the camera view? I don't know. But I'm so thrilled with this. And so I get to move forward with this and move forward with this. But that's kind of the thought process of a crafty person. And so those of you who are crafters will appreciate that. Those of you who aren't, it's kind of like a peek into the mind of a creative, whatever you want to do with that. For those of you who are just into the numbers, into the budgeting, this is going to make you mad. I just said I don't have the $5 to spend, and then I went and spent $5. That just means I don't get to have a box of granola bars in my grocery budget or something to that effect. But I couldn't move forward on this project. I couldn't move forward. Even if I decided to use the buttons there and was not going to go spend that, this ended up being $236 or something, you know, whatever this was. If I didn't spend this and use the buttons I already had, I still didn't have a back for this. That fabric's not here. And so this wouldn't be moving forward. And it needs to move forward. It needs to move forward for me. It needs to move forward for my son. It needs to move forward for the channel, because that's what we're doing. We're making progress, little bitty baby steps. And so they come at a cost. You don't have to like it. I don't have to like it. It's done. And in the end, I justified it for myself. And that's where we're at. So I just wanted to tell you my kind of thought process of going from I don't have it to something that's going to work, and we're moving forward. Anyway, rambling, super excited. So glad to be moving forward. I need this joy to counterbalance this frustration. Thank you for joining me today on today's little journey. Wherever you're at and whatever it is you're doing today, please have fun. Bye-bye now.